Ignoring history for sleep. The most grisly executions in Victorian England. As dawn broke over Victorian England, a damp chill settled in the air, tugging at your bones with an insistent bite that held no warmth. You stirred in your straw-filled mattress, feeling the prickly invasion of tiny fleas, adding unfortunate company to your morning. The smell of smoke drifted up from the hearth, mixed with the more unpleasant aromas of damp straw that clung to the corners of your rickety home. Creak of wood. The day promised its usual array of dreariness. You blinked against the dim light filtering through the tiny window, your senses assaulted. The room was a patchwork of muted colors, pale grays and browns, the remnants of a long winter, casting a gloom that seemed to resonate with your very soul. Outside, the village slowly started to stir, a distant murmur that barely penetrated your realm of discomfort. With a resigned sigh, you swung your legs over the edge, feet meeting the cold, rough-hewn floor. What a joy it would be to sweep away the accumulated dirt again. Swish of a broom. Every day, the same coarse dust welcomed you, as if it had taken up residence just to spite you. The bristles danced across the floor, and, in a gentle display of futility, you could almost hear the voices of the dust particles mocking you. "We'll just settle back down, you know." The pottage awaited, simmering with great enthusiasm as you stirred it, the wooden spoon moving in tedious circles. Stirring sounds. Each rotation felt like a smaller version of life itself, round and round, full of promise, yet inevitably dull. The smell of overcooked vegetables mingled unpleasantly with the smoke, a culinary nightmare that somehow felt like fate. If only you could stir it with more excitement. But alas, life had its limits. Outside, the villagers went about their chores with a monotony that soothed your soul. Their laughter was fleeting, like the first rays of sunshine that rarely broke through the mean gray clouds. Did they know how lucky they were to be distracted by the harsh realities of survival? Perhaps, but here you were trapped, cozy yet restless. As the hours slipped by like a slow hand on an old clock, the cold wrapped around you, a steady reminder of existence. Should you rejoice in the mundane cycle of life or mourn it? The branches outside scratched against the window, echoing your silent thoughts, suggesting that perhaps something more interesting awaited. Somewhere, you shifted slightly on the cold floor, a tiny shiver running up your spine as your eyelids began to feel heavier. Outside, the darkening sky, clouds swirled ominously, promising rain. A fitting backdrop, wouldn't you say? Yet just as the first drops began to patter against the windows, a loud shout broke through the evening calm. What now? Was there an execution brewing in the village? How delightful! And as the day wore on, your eyelids began to grow heavy. Hey, before Morpheus fully embraces you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Take a moment to leave a like as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it? Your interaction keeps this calm corner alive. Thanks for being part of it. A secret in the shadows. Just as the sky darkened, the heavy sound of a bell tolled from the distant church, its echo rolling through the village like a somber warning. You peered outside, the rain now a steady drum against the windows. The villagers' laughter was replaced by anxious whispers, and you couldn't help but feel the weight of the air shift. A collective unease settling over the damp streets. Something was amiss. You set aside the pottage, the wooden spoon clattering against the crock, and ventured to the village square. The aroma of wet earth mingled with that of something more sinister. You squinted through the pouring rain, heart racing with the thrill of the unknown. It was unusual for the villagers to gather this urgently, and as you drew closer, the conspiratorial huddle became a living tapestry of frayed nerves. Did you hear? Someone whispered, their voice tight as a bowstring. You leaned in, eager for the juicy morsels of gossip. Strange lights by the old gallows last night, moving, like ghostly flames dancing on air. A shiver raced down your spine. The gallows, a symbol of dread and mortality, had not been used for years. It felt like a forgotten memory resurfacing from the ashes. A second voice joined in, shaky yet insistent. And then there were the sounds, like children's laughter mixed with screams. Screams! Your heart drummed louder, matching the chaotic rhythm of the rain. The villagers were slipping into an abyss of fear, fostering a sensation you hadn't allowed yourself to feel in a long while. Curiosity. From the corner of your eye, you noticed a figure, cloaked, hooded, moving just beyond the flickering lanterns. The shadows clung to them, as if trying to protect the secret that cloaked their identity. You had heard rumors of a traveler, a wanderer, who had been asking questions about the village. Were they simply a stranger, or something more, an omen? The figure turned suddenly, locking eyes with you. A flicker of recognition passed, though you had never met. They raised a hand, beckoning you to follow. Heart racing, you stepped forward, pulse thrumming in your ears. As you turned to whisper to the villagers, a shattering sound erupted behind you. The old well, once a reliable source of water, had shattered, emptying its darkness onto the cobblestones, an unnatural rage breaking forth, its stones crumbling and swirling around like souls in torment. Gasps filled the air, fear electrifying the scene. Disoriented, you glanced back to the figure, but they had vanished, leaving only a swirling haze of thick mist where they once stood. What was happening? You moved toward the well's now cavernous opening, the chill of the air seeping into your bones. Peering into the abyss, A low growl vibrated from deep within, and as tendrils of mist curled around your feet, a voice echoed, low and gravelly. Your fate is intertwined with mine, and it begins. Now, before you could retreat, something shot out of the darkness, grasping your wrist with a grip like iron. Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. A secret unveiled in the darkness. The grip on your wrist felt like iron, sending a jolt of shock straight through your body. You turned to recoil, but the darkness around the well thickened, and the space seemed distorted, like a bad dream you couldn't shake off. A low growl followed, rattling your bones, urging you to enter the depths of this unfolding nightmare. Help! You tried to cry out, but the words caught in your throat, your heart thundering in your ears. Had the weight of trepidation dislodged your voice? A swirl of mist engulfed you, cold and damp, wrapping tighter around your legs. The growl from the abyss intensified, vibrating through the cobblestones beneath your feet. The villagers stood back, faces pale, eyes wide with horror. Silence. 3. You saw their mouths moving, spewing whispers, but the rain drowned everything out, drowning the chatter of fear. And then, a flash of lightning illuminated the square. In that instant, you glimpsed the figure again, now closer and somehow more corporeal. The hood fell back, revealing a face not shrouded in mystery, but twisted with anguish and longing. It was Martha, your childhood friend who had vanished years ago, disappeared from a village bound by shadows and secrets. Martha? You managed to whisper, incredulity bubbling like the pottage you had abandoned. Run! You have to run! She cried, her voice raw as the storm above. The grip broke free, and suddenly you were stumbling back. The villagers faded further into the shadows, their murmurs mingling with the cacophony of thunder. They were no longer just bystanders. They were prisoners of despair. What are you doing here? You insisted, heart racing. The villagers would want to know. The storm acted as an orchestra to the unfolding drama. Thunder rumbling. The well! Everyone is in danger. Martha's frantic eyes darted around, as if the very air held a listening ear. You've got to understand. The shadows, they're alive. They feed off fear. The rain fell harder now, drumming on the rooftops, each drop echoing in the silence that once filled your home with laughter. You looked back at the well, the haunting depths now a swirling void, as if the darkness had a heartbeat of its own. What do you mean? Who's in danger? The words tumbled from your lips, desperate and frantic. didn't make sense. There's been a pact, something long forgotten, she said, her voice trembling. The villagers, we were never meant to be bound to this place. The shadows return to reclaim what was theirs. The harsh reality crushed down, mingling with fear and disbelief. You glanced over to the villagers, still standing aside, watching with morbid fascination. Pact? What pacts? But as you spoke, a figure emerged from the crowd, cloaked in a shroud of authority. The magistrate, looking like he had stepped from the pages of a history book. Enough, he bellowed, eyes narrowing. This is all nonsense. The accusation fell like a guillotine. But then, the stones around the well shifted violently, and with an ear-splitting crack, something dark surged upward, billowing like smoke, hungry for the air. The crowd gasped collectively, all eyes shifting to you. What were you meant to do? The only thought that resonated was the dread of being grounded forever. And as that dark presence loomed larger, a chilling whisper swarmed around you. Your fate is intertwined with mine, and it begins now. Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. A secret in the well. The dark presence rose from the well, swirling tendrils of mist stretching into the night. Gasps of horror echoed around the village. You stood frozen. The magistrate loomed closer, face twisted in disbelief. What is this trickery? He pointed a trembling finger at you. You've disturbed the peace. Martha's voice pierced through the tension. No, you don't understand. It's true. Her eyes darted back to the well, fear gripping her like a vice. As the villagers pressed forward, you felt their cold apprehension. They were drawn to the well, an abyss tainted by secrets. The clouds above churned ominously, mirroring the turmoil below. But then, a low rumble rolled from the depths, vibrating through your very core. You turned to Martha, her urgency sparking something deep within. What do you mean? By a pact, you asked, desperation creeping into your tone. Years ago, the villagers sacrificed to keep the shadows at bay, she explained, her voice trembling. They promised offerings, but they forgot, and now they seek to reclaim what is theirs. Before you could ponder the implications, the ground shook violently, cracking beneath your feet. Shadows leapt forth, twisting like spirits released from a long-forgotten cage. The crowd stumbled back, their horror mounting. Do you see? Martha implored. You have to help them remember. The villagers want to deny the truth, but the past won't fade away. Suddenly, the magistrate stepped forward again, eyes blazing. Abandon this nonsense. These are just tales to frighten children. But as if mocking him, the earth surged. A jagged stone shot upwards, glimmering in the dim light, before crashing back down. The villagers shrieked, stumbling over one another in their retreat. "Flee!" they cried, a mass of panic rising and falling. Meanwhile, a steely resolve formed within you. "What do we do?" you turned to Martha, relentless in your demand for answers. "You must confront the shadows. Find the heart of the pact," she urged, desperation in her voice. Ignoring the rising tide of chaos, you stepped toward the swirling darkness. Closer, you noticed something in the mist. A glint of silver. An object deep within the well. But as you reached out, the shadows twisted, pulling back, trying to keep you at bay. Around you, the villagers murmured, their unease thickening the air. "This is madness." The magistrate's voice trembled now, his authority crumbling. In that moment, clarity struck. The pact. What if it wasn't just a collective promise, but a deeper secret? A ritual that bound each villager to the shadows? And suddenly, the figure from before flickered in your vision. It was there, then gone, weaving through the villagers like a specter. "Find me," it whispered, tantalizing and taunting. The voice spiraled into your mind, lingering like an echo. With your heart racing, you turned back to Martha. "What did they offer?" you pressed, urgency tightening your throat. But before she could answer, the well erupted in a surge of darkness, swallowing whatever little light remained. All that was left was a haunting whisper. "Your fate is intertwined with mine, and it begins now." Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? And what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. A village revealed. The abyss gripped your thoughts, churning darkly just beyond the well's edge. The air thickened, pressing in on you like damp wool. What had surfaced from the depths? Martha's frantic eyes shone with urgency. "You have to trust me." But trust felt like an ethereal concept, floating just out of reach. The villagers stood frozen, caught in a tide of cold fear. They were no longer simply witnesses. They were tangled in something larger. The shadows flickered, coiling like serpents, hungry for something or someone. You took a cautious step closer. "Do you remember the tales?" Martha pleaded. "The sacrifices they made? The stories your mother told, sweet whispers by the hearth, lost to a cacophony of mundane chores. Never did you think those ramblings held truth." "Sacrifices? What do you mean?" The words slipped from your tongue, heavy and incredulous. "An offering," she gasped. "Every season, a chosen villager would vanish, to keep the shadows at bay." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Eyes widened. Mouths hung slightly open. The reality of it settled over you like a shroud. Secret losses, hidden beneath the routine of dawn chores. But who? You whispered, your voice barely audible over the chaos. Who would they offer? Martha shifted, glancing toward the magistrate, suddenly pale as the first light of dawn. He's one of them, she choked. He knows everything. The magistrate stepped forward, indignation warring with fear. What if it's true? A woman shrieked from the rear, shivering as the rain whipped around her. The crowd stirred uneasily, doubt clinging to the air like unwashed linens. Enough, the magistrate bellowed, yet there was a quiver beneath the bravado. The shadows hummed restlessly at the well's edge. Just then, lightning split the sky, illuminating the well's gaping maw. An object glinted within, silver and oh so enticing. It writhed like it was alive. Go, Martha urged, pulling you back as if sensing the danger. We need to confront him. But the crowd surged, intoxicated by fear and confusion. They pressed closer, like moths to a flame, absorbing the gathering storm. Must we really confront the living embodiment of our most confusing folklore? You chided lightly, though your heart thrashed with trepidation. Suddenly, the well let out a guttural growl, echoing through the square. It wasn't just a sound, it was a voice, rising in anger, a promise of retribution. What will they take? A voice threaded through the crowd, cutting the tension. Another innocent? And the very ground shuddered as shadows seeped forth, reaching out like gnarled fingers, grasping at anything and anyone. The villagers recoiled, gasps echoing through the flooded streets. Help us, Martha urged, firming her eyes upon you. Help them remember. But before you could respond, the magistrate shouted over the swelling chaos. Silence! You know nothing! With that, he moved toward the well, summoning authority. But the shadows, alive and pulsing, coiled around him with furious hunger. Just as he fell to his knees, drawn towards the depths, you locked eyes with Martha, one last time. What now? You whispered, barely breathing. A shroud of despair descended as the villagers erupted in panic around you. The darkness surged closer, threatening to drag everyone down. Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like, as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. A village reawakens. The ground shuddered beneath you, shadows stretching and twisting like desperate fingers. The magistrate fell, swallowed by darkness, his cries mumbled into silence. You stood there, heart racing, a hot fear surging through your veins. Martha clutched your arm, her grip a lifeline against the growing chaos. We can't let them take him, she shouted, though even her voice trembled with uncertainty. But no one was listening. The villagers, once a comforting presence, scattered like leaves caught in a gust. Panic rippled through the square, faces pale and eyes wide. They seemed more like frightened children than seasoned adults. They stepped back, almost stumbling over one another, the atmosphere thick with collective dread. Then it happened. A pallid light burst forth from the well, illuminating the faces around you. Shadows flickered away from the heart of the turbulence, revealing, of all things, a wooden box, intricately carved and gleaming silver. "What the?" you started, eyes glued to the bizarre sight. "Stop!" Martha squeezed your wrist hard enough that it stung. "You don't understand. That box holds the truth. It's not just about the shadows." Truth? A fun little concept, you thought. You've never felt it physically, but here it was, writhing like a worm in the mud. As the villagers' gasps filled the air, the box began to quiver. The wooden surface writhed as if alive, ancient and furious. It was the kind of thing straight out of a cautionary tale, and yet here it pulsated like a heartbeat. Peering closer, you noticed a symbol engraved on its surface. A twisting spiral, something that sent echoes of forgotten memories to the edge of your consciousness. You'd seen that pattern before, perhaps woven into your mother's quilts, or scribbled in the margins of old manuscripts. "What's inside?" you asked breathlessly, the words barely escaping your lips. Martha's gaze darted between you and the box. The villagers were bound by choice to keep the shadows at bay. It's not just sacrifices, it's memories. They've been offering their very own past to the darkness. What do you mean? When someone disappears, they take a piece of everyone's recollections. The box holds them. Every name, every face lost to the shadows. It feeds on fear, and it grows stronger every time. A weight settled in the pit of your stomach. You staggered backward as night fell heavier around you. "So, the magistrate, he?" "Yes," Martha said, voice a hoarse whisper, edged with urgency. "He knows. He orchestrated it all, filling the box to keep himself safe." At that moment, the box emitted a horrible, anguished wail, a sound sharp enough to slice through your very being. The villagers froze, eyes fixated on the growing glow, a bewitching sight of power, both terrifying and beautiful. A tendril of shadowed mist shot toward the magistrate, grasping him like a lover lost in despair. His mouth opened to scream, but a different voice emerged, a low, echoing sound that penetrated deep within your very bones. "Your fate is entwined with the past, and it begins now." You could feel Martha quaking beside you. The villagers were no longer simply spectators. They were bait for the shadows, drawn to the well and the truth it contained. Before you could react, a surge from the box pushed against the shadows, both fighting and swaying like waves in a storm. Their collision sent a ripple through the square, one that felt shockingly familiar, as if the very air was trying to remember something, but being stifled in doing so. And then, with a deafening bang, the box shattered, spilling its unearthly contents into the night. Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? And what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. A shift in the shadows. As the shards of the mysterious box scattered across the cobblestones, a sharp, metallic scent clawed at your nostrils. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the village, piercing through the rain-soaked air. The shadows writhed, twisting like frightened serpents, repelled by the burst of light. In the faint glow from the now splintered box, you caught sight of something peculiar, a silver key glimmering amidst the wreckage. It wasn't just any key. It was adorned with the same twisting spiral you had seen before, the very symbol of the villages. Past ailing in obscurity, Martha's eyes widened in horror, splitting the tension. "No, that can't be," she gasped, inching closer as though it were a great beast ready to pounce. The key was supposed to be lost, silent, buried. "Too late for that now," you muttered, feeling the prickle of dread skitter along your spine. "What does it open?" Martha shook her head, her usual certainty cracking. "If it fits in the well, we would need to find out, wouldn't we?" Ah, yes. A mystery ripe for the picking, served with a side of impending doom. Around you, the villagers stirred, but seemed entranced. The shadows had released their hold on most, but not all. Some stood transfixed, lips murmuring secrets no longer plausible. Fear and curiosity lit their faces with feral anticipation. Your villagers would rather be as statues than confront what they truly fear, you thought, your heart drumming an anxious rhythm. Suddenly, a guttural whisper brushed against the back of your mind, echoing like the wind rustling through the dead leaves. "Do not forget, the shadows are hungry." The magistrate, now insignificantly small against the vastness of fear in the square, had regained his footing. Rage contorted his features, turning fear into a feral mask. A hushed silence descended, tension wrapping the villagers tighter than a snare. "They will pay for this carnage," he barked, anger ricocheting off the walls of your mind. It seemed he had abandoned rationality in favor of volatile authority, a tragic misstep in this storm. But instead of cowering, the villagers slowly turned toward the well, ignoring the magistrate's fury. A collective longing shifted through the crowd, a desire to uncover what shadows awaited in the abyss. You couldn't help but feel the energy swell, like a tide ready to crash against the shores of sanity. And there, in a moment of absurd clarity, you noticed clusters of villagers digging through the ruins, fingers sifting through rubble, hunting for the weight of their missing memories. Each expression echoed with fear and hope. Realizing the true danger, you swallowed hard. "Wait!" you called out. "You'll lose yourselves again." But it was too late. The well's shadows swelled, as if relishing the unfolding chaos. You could feel the tendrils creeping closer, dark hands beckoning, hungry for what was rightfully theirs. Then it hit, a thought so absurd it nearly knocked the breath from your lungs. Were they willing to trade their own memories? For what? The whispers that everyone had been offering pieces of themselves had always been so much more. Then ominous tales. Shifting shadows beckoned from below, as if trying to pull you deeper into the chilling truth. And just as you felt the wall behind you grow cold with despair, the bell from the church tower tolled. Each chime resonated like a funeral dirge, echoing through the hearts of the villagers. Snap out of it. You can't let this happen. But they were already entranced by the darkness, plumes of mist curling around their feet, luring them closer to the watery grave. The town had been feeding the shadows, and the might of their power was growing. What had you stumbled upon? Surely they couldn't mean to surrender themselves to the shadows. Before you could catch up to your own frantic thoughts, the shadows surged upward, a swirling maelstrom ascending into the night. You readied yourself for an unforeseen strike, breath hitching in your chest. Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. The ties that bind. The shadows swirled violently, reaching out with dark claws, hungry for more. Panic erupted around you. The villagers stumbled, their wide eyes reflecting sheer terror. Just as you thought chaos couldn't swallow the night deeper, a thunderous crack filled the air. The remnants of the box tremblingly scattered, pulsing with untamed power. Shadows recoiled, yet their grip strengthened on the villagers, yanking them toward the well's edge, where darkness awaited. Martha, you shouted over the storm, her figure flickering between the villagers like an injured candle. What do? We can't lose anyone else. But before she could respond, the oppressive air thickened, and the well began to groan, a sound like the earth itself was unraveling. Then something extraordinary happened. From the heart of the well, an unexpected figure emerged, bathed in an eerie glow. A woman with alabaster skin and hair as dark as a raven's wing. "Stop!" she called, her voice slicing through the panic like a razor. It was a voice both haunting and familiar, as if it belonged to someone long forgotten, yet utterly essential. You stepped forward, heart racing. "Who are you?" The villagers fell silent, eyes fixed on the apparition, spellbound by her presence. The shadows paused, hinting at recognition, as if they too felt the weight of her power. "I am Alara," she asserted, her gaze locking onto yours. A ripple of disbelief went through the crowd. "Once, I was one of you." "What do you mean?" you pressed, confusion and curiosity battling within you. What happened? The pact, she began, but her voice swelled with bitterness. They sacrificed me to maintain the balance. Long ago, I was the heart of this village, the keeper of all memories. Shock rippled through you. Sacrifice? You? Yes, Ilara continued, her eyes darkening. I was bound to the shadows. You see, my disappearance was not an anomaly. It was orchestrated by those who feared me. They knew my power would outshine theirs. Rumbles of murmur swept through the villagers, eyes darting between you and Ilara. The shadows appeared restless, swirling like clouds before a tempest. So, what does that mean for us now? You asked, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Can you help us break this cycle? Help? Ilara laughed bitterly, an echo that sent chills down your spine. I only return because the barriers have weakened. And I am no longer bound. But know this, the shadows will turn on you when they discover the truth. The words echoed in your mind, mingling with the oncoming storm. The villagers' fascination twisted to doubt. But before you could gather your thoughts, a flickering shadow darted to the forefront. Martha jolted, eyes wide. If you're free, then what power do you have? Ilara's expression hardened. Power? What power could I possibly wield after years of chains? These shadows stem from the sacrifices, and they've grown too strong. You all might become another offering. Before you could process her words, the earth shook violently underneath you. The villagers began to panic once more, too frightened to think clearly. Martha grasped your arm tightly, her brows drawn together with determination. We have to confront the shadows. Take back control. In that moment, a blinding light erupted from the well. The shadows recoiled, snarling as shapes twisted together in angry disputes. Hold on tight, you shouted, pulse throbbing with fear and hope. We have to fight back. But just as you prepared to step toward the fray, a bone-chilling wind swept through the square. Ilara's features twisted in horror as she grasped the edge of the well. They're coming, and they'll take you all. The shadows surged upward, a roiling mass of darkness. What had you stumbled into? Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. The shadows weaving truth, a quaking hush enveloped the square. Shadows writhed, coming together like a thunderstorm, gathering strength. Martha, you shouted, gripping her arm as the specter of Ilara loomed above. The air felt electric. What can we do? Just then, a rumble cascaded through the ground, like the very earth was whispering secrets. And then, a sudden tremor hit, more powerful than any storm. From the swirling darkness, a figure burst forth, not just Ilara this time, but a multitude of villagers, long lost. Their faces were hollow, eyes void of emotion, pulled from the depths of the well. Gasps echoed through the crowd, realization hitting harder than the chill in the air. "Look!" someone shouted, voice a mix of dread and disbelief. It's all the missing." "Yes," Ilara responded, her voice heavy with sadness. "The souls sacrificed for the pact. This is the true cost." The crowd swayed, frozen in horror. You stumbled back a step, feeling the world tilt. Shadows flickered around, as if tasting the wave of fear rolling off the villagers. They were taken? All of them?" Martha glanced at the apparition of Ilara, her expression haunted. "Why? Why hold on to their memories? What do you gain from using them?" Ilara opened her mouth to speak, but before she could form words, the shadows surged forward, swirling like a tempest. "I am not here for their memories," she shouted, stepping closer. "They are kept to maintain the balance, but you've awakened them, and now they thrash like animals desperate for liberation." As if to mock her words, the shadows lunged at the remaining villagers. Panic erupted. They scattered, cries reverberating through the square, like flocks of startled birds. "Stop!" you shouted, panic threading through your veins. "They need to know the truth!" But the truth twisted like a dagger in the air. The missing villagers were not merely shadows. They were a curse brought forth from fear itself. As their faces twisted with longing and pain, the air grew thicker, a miasma of dread. Someone in the crowd began to weep. Suddenly, another gust of wind blew through the square, carrying with it a rancid smell, a sickening mix of smoke and decay. Coughs erupted as people staggered, lungs constricting. Then, amidst the chaos, one villager straightened, eyes wild. "You can't just recall the past," they shouted frantically. "Those memories were meant to protect us from the shadows." The desperation in their voice was palpable. Everything seemed improbable and mad, like a dream fading too fast. But Jacoby, standing wide-eyed at the back, let out a single harrowing scream. "They took my baby!" "What?" A scattered hush fell over the crowd, tension binding them all together. Ilara's ghostly form flickered, catching every eye. "Sacrifices," she said softly, almost a whisper, "need to be made." The truth hung heavy, a smothering weight. Unquestionably, the grim history gnawed at. Glances shared, hearts pounding beneath damp shirts. Suddenly, the villagers began to murmur, voices weaving indistinct threads of suspicion. Could the magistrate, their unyielding figure of authority, have orchestrated all of this? The shadows danced, eager for blood. Ilara raised her hand as if to quell the mounting storm of voices. "Listen. You think I carry this burden alone? The choice isn't mine to bear, nor is it just yours." A ripple of realization coursed through the onlookers. Was it possible? The pact was a collective curse. Not merely darkness, but something woven from every choice made in fear. With an ear-splitting crack, the well erupted, shadows tugging violently at the villagers' hearts. Before you could form a response, Ilara's words, "What if the shadows are within you?" echoed ominously on the wind. And just like that, a rumble of laughter rose, a chorus of mocking tones rising from the darkness, stomachs nodding with uncertainty. What had you unleashed? Hey, before Morpheus fully claims you, quickly check if you're still subscribed. For some, the button vanished, and I don't want you to miss the next bedtime stories. Drop a like, as soft as a pillow. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from, and what time is it? Your interaction keeps this corner of calm alive. Thanks for being part of it. The shadows recoiled as the truth lay exposed in the trembling air. You watched as the villagers, their faces morphing from horror to realization, began to comprehend the grave weight of their choices. Ilara's spectral form flickered, a guide and witness to what needed to be done. "Take my hand," she breathed, as if daring someone to challenge her. "This power, it's rooted in your memories too. Release it." Martha squeezed your arm, and the villagers found their courage surfacing. Together, they reached toward Ilara, a sea of trembling fingertips craving connection. As they linked hands, you felt a shift, like the moment dawn gives way to sunlight after an interminable night. Yet the shadows hissed, coiling tighter, craving chaos. You felt a chill race through the crowd, each villager grappling with the darkness within themselves. "Remember the laughter," they cried, and suddenly, those lost faces, their children, their friends, flickered back into existence, filling the air with warmth. But with each joyful recollection, shadows twisted and screamed, battling the light as it poured forth. "Don't forget the names," Martha coaxed. "Recall each face, every joyful moment. It will weaken them." A cacophony of collective memories spilled out, laughter mingling with past sorrows, a boy's first steps, an elder's fond story, and a simple meal shared under starlight. They stood together, drawing strength from one another. Color seeped back into their expressions, igniting flickers of hope. Like a storm breaking, the shadows screamed, receding reluctantly into the well as the villagers' memories washed over them. "Just a little longer," you urged, noting Ilara standing firm amidst it all, like a lighthouse amidst crashing waves. With one last surge of unity, the villagers yelled their memories, their joys, their anguished losses. The echoes surged through you all as the shadows thrashed, twisting and dissipating until they vanished like mist in the morning sun. "Power lies in remembering," Ilara murmured, her voice a soft echo of triumph. The clouds parted overhead, revealing a dim light that chased away the remnants of darkness. The villagers looked around in awe, faces brightening, colors returning to the village, drenched in gloom for too long. Ilara's figure shimmered, ready for fading into the ether from whence she came. "You've awakened what was lost," she said softly, a proud smile gracing her lips. But beware, darkness is a tricky dance partner. A gentle breeze rustled, embracing you all, while faint whispers of shadows lingered at the well's mouth. "We're free," you breathed, hoarse from the exertion, but doubt curled at the edges of your thoughts. The villagers looked on, lounging awkwardly on the cobbled streets, cautious yet strangely renewed. As Alara's light flickered, you felt a tingle at the base of your spine, unsure if it was relief or latent fear. Why did the shadows still linger, like uninvited guests at a joyous feast? "Until we meet again," Alara said, fading into the light, leaving only the faintest trace of her presence, a lingering chill that hinted at unresolved secrets beneath the surface. The villagers breathed together, hearts racing from exhilaration and uncertainty. Their once muted laughter began to weave tales anew, but you couldn't shake then, feeling that the journey was merely beginning. In the twilight, the well whispered secrets, begging to be remembered, waiting for someone daring enough to listen. Have you truly escaped the darkness? You must subscribe right now to stay with us on this thrilling journey. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm that keeps this corner alive. Flood the comments section with all your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait another second to share this video right away with 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion. Only true fans understand how important these actions are. Let's keep the stories flowing